So week 2 of the BT21 World's Convergence Meta Report is basically what I thought would be like more, I don't know, a whole lot more streamlined after the first week is not the case. There's still like so many decks out there. It's really hard to figure out like what do you have to like worry about because there's just so much right now. When you take a look at Digimon, Royal Knights, Sakuyamon, and then like all of the new decks from the Hero stuff, it feels like you can get hit by anything. And then there's like the old decks like Imperial Digimon Virus, where you're saying that's old at this point. Galactic Mon's not that old, but you get the idea. Purple Hybrid. Yeah, there's just so much to worry about right now. It's hard to build one deck that stops everything. But I'll tell you what, ShineGreymon Ruin Mode and Valdararm are sure doing their damnedest to stop everybody else. Something cool is actually this week was not the start, but this week was the continuation of some of the Japanese Area 1 qualifiers. If you don't know what those are, the Japanese qualification system for the World Championships is completely different from every other region. I don't have enough time right now to go through all of that and tell you, but I did make a video on it, so if you want to know about how, I guess, any region qualifies for the World Championships, I did a video and a deep dive of all the events around the world and how you can actually like make it to the World qualifiers if you so choose. So go watch that and you'll learn all about why Japan has a super different qualification system, why it's 10 times more complicated than every other region out there, and why you'll never have a Japan event that is as big or even remotely as close in size to a Western event. So the folks who are always looking for a big event from Japan, you're never going to find them. Again, check the video out to learn more. But this week saw the past evolution of Digimon as a deck to some pretty disgusting heights, along with the exploration of a lot of the other new decks introduced in BT21, which I think has breathed some life into the older cards in the game, like back from like BT11, BT12. When you take a look at Hunters, Gammamon, and the rest. So let's take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a close look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past week. So as you see here, a couple of major points. You know, when they came for Hidden Potential Discovered, I didn't say anything because me and all my homies hate green. When they came for Hammer Spark, I didn't mind because Gurumon players are hoes. When Jack Ray was on the chopping block, like, you know, Velgramon deserved it. But now as a red player, they're coming for Gravity Crush. Yeah, with all the other memory options hit, I have no one else to rally to my side and say, you know what, it's okay. So I'm going to do what I do in all these tough situations, and that is blame the purple players. It's you guys' fault that Gravity Crush is going to get hit. Oh boy, yeah, Digimon has seen the use of Gravity Crush to keep their turns because they typically only need one turn to kill you. So the turn that they come out with the Digimon, you can likely expect to see like 1 to 2 Gravity Crushes in order for them to keep their turn even after they evolve into the Digimon, explode, and then play out more stuff, so they can just OTK you in that one turn. It's pretty terrifying. There's been a couple of other little optimizations to the deck, but we won't get into them today. But it seems like because of some of the optimizations, he has stepped into the ring with Royal Knights and Sakuyamon, where one of the really competitive locals in Tokyo, there's a place called Gorakuya. They post up videos, I think, weekly of their finals. There's a really, really good video of, here it is right here, yeah. This is a really good video of Shop Gorakuya. I know that's not easy to type in. They have a really great video of Digimon versus Sakuyamon and why Digimon is absolutely terrifying against any deck. Also, the guy who runs the shop actually runs this, and it's, yeah, so check out Shop Gree on Twitter. And also this channel here. I don't know how to... Oh yeah, Gree DS120. There we go. Definitely just subscribe to that channel if you can. They put out some good stuff for Digimon. They do it every week. And he edits the videos, so they're super nice and really easy to follow. But they have a really good use case, I think, for like why Digimon is terrifying right now. I mentioned this before, but like all of the other hero decks, I really didn't expect much from them. The boosts in power to a lot of the older decks, like Hunters, which you see there, Gammamon, Crossheart, and even the newcomers in the adventure decks and the hero deck itself have been doing way better than I expected. Maybe Bandai's finally kind of like figured out like where exactly to balance things so that new decks actually feel impactful. Because remember, like after I think like BT 16 or so, the next couple of sets were a little bit underpowered. Whereas now it feels like as time has gone on, they've kind of figured out and hit their stride. Okay, how do we make a set like worth it for players to invest in and actually grab new cards because they're strong enough to warrant them. Yeah, there's so much stuff to worry about now. I've been having a lot of fun with some of them. Gammamon is definitely one. Adventure is a deck that I feel like I don't know if anybody else has this feeling, but Adventure is the deck that I feel I am never satisfied fully about like my ability to play the deck and the deck itself. I think in a single day I probably changed like the Adventure deck 3 or 4 times, and even after all of that, I'm still like, nah, I can still optimize this. Like I can change this a little bit. Like something's a little bit off. I don't know if I'm just going in a circle at this point, you know? Yeah. Let's see. So that's most of the stuff at the champion level. The rookies and below are just like dominated by a lot of the previous decks and decks that did get a little bit of support recently. Armor Rush is still hanging on, although there was a huge drop off, I think, from last week. Purple Hybrid, I think, is still using some of the new cards like the Arrested Dramon Superior Mode from BT21 to like get that final attack for game. Appmon's still there. Leviamon is a deck that will never go away because we will never stop paying for EX5's crimes. Now that everything plays everything by effects, Leviamon just out of the swamp. He's like, hey, that's a cool effect you got there. Let me just chomp, 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 game memory, my turn. Good to see Galacticmon still doing well. I think it's been a really long time since Black has got a deck where it's just like, all right, this is clearly strong. Destroy Tamers, a really rare ability, and they do it with ease. Galacticmon is actually kind of annoying to remove for a lot of red decks out there, which is cool. What else? Oh, yeah. So last week, we didn't see any bits of... We saw pretty much all of the new, like... the upgraded versions of old decks, with the exception of ShineGreymon. And so this week, we actually saw a couple of wins. I think it was 2 from ShineGreymon himself. One we'll take a look at in a moment by a really, really cool player. And yeah, there was also some really weird, like, I don't know, some weird pop-ups. But I guess that's a good thing, right? We've got things like Jessmon, which took 3 wins over the past week. A Lilithmon, which... I feel kind of bad like categorizing all of the purple decks in really different ways, where it feels like the bottom half of the deck is all just kind of like the Dark Animal Slop engine, and then the upper end is what changes. So like this case was like Lilithmon. In other cases, it's, you know, Leviamon, and in other cases, it's like Dark Knightmon or Lord Knightmon, excuse me. I don't know if we should just categorize that as like purple good stuff, but I feel like it also just doesn't do decks that are like focused on Lilithmon justice. So I'm still just kind of categorizing them as whatever their top end is. And even a Mastimon, there's a guy in Tokyo by the name of YKK, really talented player. He was the one going around right before Worlds, around Tokyo's local events, and just terrorizing the shit out of people with Fenrir Lugamon. Because he typically plays like Mastimon, and he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna try one time. And now it looks like he's gone back to Mastimon, so everyone is safe again. Petition to call Purple Animal Slop Madagascar engine. What's going on, Rengo? And so that's pretty much like the results from the past week. Again, I thought that we'd see some of these decks drop off, especially a lot of the like the hero like parts, but that's not the case. Like again, Hunters is doing really well, it seems. Gammamon, I think Gammamon might be one of the ones to slide, even though I don't want it to. The hero deck itself, it'll be interesting to see where that ends up, just because I feel like people are still trying out 100 different variants. Appmon is a deck that I also hope stays around, but it looks like, with the new Tweetmon we get in the next month's Tamer Battle packs or Store Local event packs, maybe this helps the deck out. They do need a little bit more draw, and the Tweetmon just giving you draw on link is fantastic. So, also, man, Tweetmon, that aged poorly, didn't it? Yikes. So let's take a look at a couple of decks. The first one is going to be a really, really talented Korean player named Kamishiro. So for the folks who don't know, I featured Kamishiro a couple of times. He is a really talented player. I've got a chance to see him play in Korea. He won some Korean events in order to actually qualify to come to some of the Tokyo community run events, which is kind of cool. So they had like a circuit over in Korea, and like the winners of that circuit basically got to they got a free flight and lodging to a community team event in Tokyo last year. He came. He typically plays a lot of like Jessmon, a lot of protagonist decks specifically. He's got a really soft spot in his heart for ShineGreymon, which you see here. And I really like his list, although I'm a little worried about some of the level 4 splits, which we'll take a look at a second. So this is like his version of the list. Shoutouts to the Venusmon Matt. This plus market is basically domestic abuse. That's what's up. But a little bit cleaner version of the list is here. I really like his deck for a couple of specific reasons. While he is really, really light on the level 4 Greymons, and even I would be afraid to only run 6, he does have an immense amount of search. When you look at the Agumons here, the Ukomons here, the card draw from the Koromon. This new Koromon, by the way, is just, it feels perfect for the deck. It feels like it was actually made for the deck. being able to give you like a draw whenever one of your tamers suspends or one of your Marcuses suspend. He's also got the Ukomon, like I mentioned just a moment ago, for more search and to cycle eggs very quickly, so you can dig through the deck and find your pieces as you need. I really like the little combo here. I wasn't super impressed personally with the new Greymon, but he does have some pretty interesting and cool uses where whenever you have him on the board, if you just play another tamer, he gets a free evolve into a Rise Greymon. And considering the new Rise Greymon, aka Greymon Blicky mode, this man's got the Magnum right here. This will let one of your tamers gain Rush and Alliance immediately and then attack before the turn ends. So even if the memory tips over when you play the Marcus Tamer, if you go into the Rise Greymon here, that Tamer can attack immediately. And then whenever it's deleted, you can just put it on top of your security, as all Rise Greymons do. The other option is to just go into the older Rise Greymon to just play out another Marcus for free. So you get 2 Tamers for the price of 1, and you get the free evolution, which is a really, really great benefit and a nice little like value add rather. Yeah, none of the new ShineGreymon stuff, most at the level 6s, most of the old stuff. And I really enjoy his use of Ruin mode here, where it seems like it wants to 2-turn OTK you. Basically, they go into their level 6, they use a Marcus to swing, go into Ruin mode, and then the Ruin mode can swing, delete himself, hatch an egg, start to build a second stack in Raising, and then the following turn they can just win the game, right? Because all of their attackers can come from Marcuses, they don't have to worry about their stack dying. In fact, I think leaving a ShineGreymon up is probably a detriment. It's probably going to get removed on your opponent's side of the board, so having the Greymon Ruin mode to just yeet itself and then put the minus 10k blanket down and recover and restart your stack in Raising seems really strong. So I really like the idea of like the 2-turn OTK here, and if you can whittle down memory fast enough with like some of the Ukomons, you can potentially go for just 1 burst turn with the ShineGreymon burst mode at the level 7s. Yeah, you notice that even though the deck is mostly 2 colors at this point, despite that, I think that Kamoshiro's decided to go with the physical trainings and the yellow scramble just because of like this Agumon and this Koromon, where, you know, if you do run like the red cards, even though most of the cards in the deck do allow you to use those options, if you only have an egg down, then you're locked out of half of those. So I think he's only locked himself into the yellows just because of the egg, and because the egg has draw as well, and the immense search from the level 3s, I think he feels pretty okay with that. The new Marcus, I'm not sure how he feels about this. I'd be interested in actually asking him. Doesn't give as much, doesn't have like an incredibly powerful effect like some of the older versions of Marcus do in, the BT12 version here, who lets you evolve for free essentially, or for the cost of 1 memory. The newer one is more of like he buffs himself, or he buffs one of your Digimon, debuffs an opponent's Digimon, and then gives piercing, which is cool, so you can punch 2 things on board. I just don't know how useful that is unless your opponent has some weenies on the board, and even then, I'm not sure how useful the piercing is. Typically, like, your opponent will leave out like a level 3 to just like search or like try to play out a floodgate. You can use this Marcus to punch over that, or even to just like DP minus it out of existence and just go for security anyway. But yeah, I think that the big winners for this deck are definitely still the BT12 Marcus as well as the BT13 Marcus as well. The memory to 3 minus 3000 and the memory plus is really cool. In fact, you can use this Marcus here in some cases to maybe keep turn or swing turn back when you go into the Greymon Rise Greymon combo. So there's that as well. The new Marcus can suspend other Marcuses as well. Oh, that's a good point, yeah. Dang, I didn't think about that. So in the case that you need like this guy to suspend, then you get the memory as well. That's pretty cool, yeah. It feels like the deck is trying to like make sure that they suspend all of their stuff if possible. That's really where you're getting all the value from Marcuses at this point. And being able to suspend this guy right here, whoo boy. When you suspend this fella, even if he's not a Digimon, you get the free evolution, which is cool. Shout outs to the ShineGreymon players in chat, by the way. So yeah, if you're like looking for a really good ShineGreymon build, I would definitely like look to Kamoshiro. He's again fantastic player over here in Asia, and yeah, the Night Fang Lightclaw Agumon is such a nice little like addition for the deck. Not only does the 3000 DP seem kind of useful, especially if you're swinging with some of the weaker Marcuses when they're not 12,000 DP, they're just like 3000s or 6000s. DP minusing your opponent's security seems pretty cool, and then just like the fact that this Agumon searches basically anything in the deck, it's not limited to Digimon or Tamer. It's like 2-color card among them from the 3 that you search off of, and just add that to hand. So you can pick up a Tamer if you need to, or a ShineGreymon Ruin mode. Yeesh. I love playing ShineGreymon. It feels so honest. Only in 2025 can you say that, because a year, 2 years ago, that was not the case. Marcus was beating everyone's ass. And it wasn't even close. So that's ShineGreymon. Yeah, it's good to see that this deck is doing something. I think that last week folks were a little bit scared that like it wasn't going to be able to perform, and now a couple of results, and then like a notable player I think over here in Asia putting up some results with it seems really nice as well. So that takes us on to our... Dang, he really chose the Venusmon map, bro. Marcus got hands. Venusmon can't see. It's over for that couple. So the next deck that I wanted to take a look at was going to be Hunters. So Hunters was a deck that I had no expectation for this set. I'm going to keep it a buck. I was like, Hunters? Yeah, dude, that deck's like so old. I tried it out the first week and I was like, it's okay. If I get a Watchmaker out, I feel okay. But if I don't, I feel like I'm a little bit slow. And then also when you go into those level 5s and you get nothing back, ooh, when they get deleted or removed from board, feels bad, man. So you can't just like go all in on the level 5 and, you know, tuck all your sources from under your tamers under that guy and then hope for the best. Because if you're not going to win the game that turn, then it's gonna be a tough time. Here's a cleaned up version of that Hunters list. I'm gonna be really honest here. I took one single liberty when I put together this list, and that is because the person who shared this list did not show their eggs. But I'm going to go with a really safe pick and what I think is pretty straightforward, and just say that they have the purple Monimon from BT12 here as a way to on delete, save, and draw one. I'm just guessing here. Well, not save, but like if the Digimon has save in his text, you draw one. Because everything in the deck has save, basically. I know. He's making stuff up. I get it, but I feel like that's a pretty safe pick. If you think it's another card, then feel free to add that as well. Let's go ahead and F11 here again. Yeah, it's hunting season once again, basically. And this deck does like one of three things. It either draws cards when you take a look at the Gumdramons, the Drachmons, the Monimon I just mentioned, or the 4 Watchmakers, and then the 1 Clockmon here, or as well as the new Tagiru Tamer. This guy is so cool just because he does the work of 2 old cards together as one, where he basically has the combined effect of the black Yuamano and the red Taiki Kudo, giving you memory and card draw at the start of main phase whenever you saw something underneath him with the save text. Although you still do run the U, just because you do need colors for your, I believe it's your Arrestor Superior mode. You need different colors to get a stronger effect. You've also got the 4 copies of the Watchmaker, who more specialized Hunter players may disagree, but I think that you kind of need the security attack +1 in order to keep up with a lot of the other decks in the game. Unless, you know, your opponent just has like a really, really slow start. Without a Watchmaker, I feel like it's hard to like push damage, or like, you know, trade security for security with other decks in the game right now, where if you don't have him, you're just hitting for 2, whereas if you do have him, you're hitting for like 4, and that puts immense pressure on other decks to move or die the next turn. And speaking of damage, they've got both the new Arrestor cards and the Arrestor here, who lets you play Tamers, the second thing this deck wants to do, which is just play as many Tamers as possible. This guy just plays the Hero or Hunter's trait Tamers, which is basically everything except the Watchmaker. They've also got the Shoutmon King versions from BT12 back in the day, way back. And he also plays basically everything but the Watchmaker. But you've also got the level 5 Arrestor Superior mode. The newer one is kind of like the muscle of the two, where he just wants to deal with things on board himself. You know, the new hero cards giving +2000 in inheritance is really nice because it lets you get to really high numbers for DP really quickly. And this guy has the additional bonus on all turns of getting +1000 for each of his Digivolution cards, which is kind of terrifying considering Hunters can stack Digivolution cards really, really easily from the Tamers whenever they evolve. And then, of course, like the older Arrestor Superior mode, he attacks without suspending at the end of the turn, so you can attack once, raid, pierce, do something, and then you can attack again once the turn is over. You've also got the not second, but rather I guess the first Arrestor Superior mode, who's more like your effect removal, where he has this really funny effect of, and it's fun. It's really fun now to go back and do this effect because we haven't really seen it much in the game in a long time, where he just takes a card and puts it underneath another card essentially on the field. So it's really funny to see like a really strong Digimon your opponent has in play, and you're like, you know what? I think that Digimon will look really good right up underneath your Tamer. And so you just wipe that threat off the board in that way. Again, if they only have 1 Digimon on the board and no Tamers, then it feels a little bit weird, but you know what it is. Like the other Arrestor Superior mode, actually this one was the original, right? So he also attacks without suspending. So that's most of the deck. There is one really cool little thing that this deck does, and it's kind of clever. Maybe other minds will disagree. I think it's a really clever idea, but it seems like this guy was like, what happens if I get 2 Arrested Digimon Superior Mode up on the same turn and I want to attack at the end of the turn with both of them? Well, if you've watched any of the videos on my channel before, then you know that's actually not possible. You can't double attack. You can't attack while another attack is happening, right? So he's like, how can I solve the issue of not being able to attack with both my Arrested Digimon Superior Mode at the end of the turn? And his answer is Gammamon, which is kind of clever, right? So let's imagine you've got 2 Arrested Digimon out and they both attacked. You're like, okay, end of turn is going to come and only one of them can attack with their end of effect or end of turn effect. Then I'm just going to use one of them to evolve into Gammamon for 5. In this case, the one of them always having to be the BT21 one because it has red and he only evolves from red. But you evolve into him and you link the Dogachmon and he's like, you know what? The deck draws so much that I feel confident I can draw both these cards out pretty easily. And so you evolve into the Gammamon, you link the Dogachmon, who says he may attack, but you don't really care about that. What you're more worried about is the when Digivolving effect, is when you link a card from your hand, you get to unsuspend and then trash your opponent's top security. And then you can make the attack with the Arrested Digimon Superior Mode here, which is kind of clever. You can also tuck Dogach with the new Tagido and put him in your stack at any time for Digivolution cost reduction. Oh, does he have save? No. Why could you do that? Oh, because he's Hero. Oh, that's clever. I didn't even catch that. That's so cool. Yeah, you can actually use the Tagido's effect because you can tuck him underneath because he's got Hero, and he also works with not only hunters but also hero types. That's a cool little crossover right there. I see what you did. Dang, that's super sick. I didn't even catch that. I was mostly worried at the end of the turn like OTK. This way you get like the unsuspend, so they still trash the security, and then you can attack with the Arrested Digimon to close out game. That's so clever though. I like that a lot. It's a cross up. There's also the 2 little techs here are the Clockmon just to gain jamming. You know, with decks that have big numbers in security, or typically have like average big numbers in security, this is pretty useful. And then Gammamon is just here for not the gamble on the evolve or the on play, but rather the blocker effect in inheritance. That way you can like have some form of like saving yourself. It might be nice to like on the Digimon, even if you don't close that game with a double Arrested Digimon and you do evolve into Gammamon, if he's got, oh, it does have to save in his text. Never mind, he doesn't get that at all. Rip in peace. So it's just a blocker, and you can't evolve into the Gammamon with it then. So it'd have to be underneath the other Arrested Digimon Superior Mode, but then he'd be unsuspended, or he'd be suspended. Oh no. Oh yeah, Gammamon does have blocker, doesn't he? Good eye. I'm always like worried, like so focused on the link +1. I'm like, oh yeah, there is another effect there, isn't there? Can you put Digimon under a token? To my knowledge, no. If you could put Digimon under a token, I think that you would be able to use the Diaboromon clock, like Doomsday Clock, to put it underneath the token for its own effect, right? But you can't do that, yeah. Tokens can't have sources. Yeah. Rest in peace, Diaboromon, until Cyber Eden comes out, and then we ball once again. But that is Hunters. It's really cool to see this deck doing cool stuff. Like, it's performed way better than I thought it would, which I'm happy to be wrong in a lot of cases, because more good decks means that them Sakuyamon, Royal Knights, and now Mega Dramon players have to sweat a little bit more. Let's see. So that was our second deck, and our last deck is the one that our YouTube members chose. Let me see if I can, one moment. Each week, of course, I allow my YouTube members, champion level and higher, to vote on decks they want to see featured in the Meta Report videos, and this week, they decided to see one of my favorite decks. Gammamon. Hot damn. So we got to see, so we'll take a look at Gammamon. Once again, thanks to all the folks who do support the channel. I really appreciate it. And if you also would like to vote on decks that you want to see in these kinds of videos, consider becoming a YouTube member today. You also get some really cool perks and bonuses, like this week. This week I put up the video for the Red Hybrid Deep Dive, where it was kind of like a 2-part video, or not video, but like a 1-part video, 1-part blog post. Together they combined to like make one solid piece of content. I'm going to be allowing them to vote this week on the next that we do that kind of deep dive on. So there's another little bonus for them there. And they also get early access to this video once the stream is finished. So there's that. So the deck they chose, Gammamon here. This one's pretty cool. So this one actually came out of China, and I think that even after I took a look at this one, the guy who runs the Chinese Digimon Twitter account, he posted like, yeah, like this guy is also like, he's winning multiple events with Gammamon. Like, oh, that's really? Damn. What does that guy know that I don't? What does he know? Oh, hey, Mauro Pinto. Thanks for becoming a champion, big dog. Just realized I wasn't a member, and now you are. A problem rectified. I do really appreciate the support, man, for sure. Me and Seiji, much appreciated. So this is like the full list that he posted up, but let me show you folks a little bit cleaner version of the list here. This one's a little bit more easily digestible, just because there were lots of like alt arts here. So let me see. Gammamon, my boy. No, Gammamon, my boy. This is a deck that I always enjoyed, but in the past, it was really complicated. There was so many effects you had to juggle at the same time, and then like cards that had Gammamon, they would like get effects with cards who have Gammamon in their name. Now it's like cards with Gammamon in their text as well. So it's a little bit simpler, a little bit more streamlined, thanks to some of the newer cards really like focusing on some simple stuff. So basically, for folks who don't know, this deck revolves around putting cards in your Digimon sources and either gaining their effects in inheritance, but also there are some cards that allow you to gain the effects of the cards themselves that are in inheritance that have Gammamon in their name. So there are some cards like the Canon Weissmon here from BT10, as well as the Zanmetsumon from BT16, who lets you gain the effects of the cards themselves with Gammamon in their names in this card's distribution card. So what that means is if you had this Wizen Gammamon from RB1 here, the Rising Wind Booster, I think it was in English, you would actually gain the blocker effect even though it's not an inheritance. You would gain the card's effect itself. You also gain the effects of some of the new cards like the Battle Gammamon, who on Evolve, if you have one or fewer Tamers out with Hero Amanakawa in the name, then you can just play another one for no cost. So you could imagine a situation where you evolve into a level 6 with this Canon Wise in its sources, and if you have the Battle Gammamon in your sources as well, you can use this card's effect, even if it's an inheritance, to play another Tamer for free. Really, really cool stuff. Let me see. Speaking of Tamers, this deck focuses on the combination of the older Rising... Was it Rising Wind Booster? I feel like that's not right, but who knows? The old RB1 booster, Hero Amanakawa, who lets you, at start of main phase, tuck a Gammamon named card from your hand underneath one of your cards as a source, and then you gain memory and then card draw. And he piggybacks off this. The new one piggybacks off this effect. That's where it's like anytime one of your Digimon would have like the Gammamon or Hero trait put underneath one of your Digimon, you can suspend the Tamer and then draw one and gain one memory. So basically, when you use this Tamer's effect, you also gain the card draw and memory off of the BT21 Tamer as well. So there's also lots of other effects in the deck that let you just slot cards underneath your Digimon. The new Gullus Gammamon is a great example of that. So here he's got the on play and when digivolving effect, so that whenever you evolve into him, you can place a card from your trash with Gammamon in his name, or hand rather, to delete opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. This would also trigger the Hero Amanakawa. Oh, okay, yeah. The only unfortunate part is here that the memory gain effect is actually only on your turn. Red things, Bandai, why do you do us like this? So you can't steal an opponent's turn if they check the Gullus Gammamon and security this way. Oh yeah, some of the newer cards in the Regulusmon are interesting. He basically forces an opponent's Digimon to attack with collision, and you can, whenever he's deleted, basically this Regulusmon himself is deleted, you can just play out either a level 5 Canon Weissmon or any other level 4 lower Digimon with Gammamon in its name, or excuse me, card text, for free from the trash. So he sees a big problem, you basically let him die, and then you immediately play the Canon Weissmon from trash to revenge delete, I guess. You can either use the effect of the Gullus Gammamon from before, his retaliation effect, to force the deletion of the opponent's Digimon as well, while also getting to recurse and play out one of your Canon Weissmons here. Or you can use this Canon Weissmon's effects to tuck another card whenever he's played underneath his sources, and then gain or delete a Digimon that's 7,000 DP or less. So there's some really cool little like destruction combos this deck works around with. You could also just go into the new Canon Weissmon, who gives Security Attack Plus if he's got 12,000 DP or more. And that's really useful because the deck needs to push damage as much as it possibly can, because unlike some of the other decks in the game, it doesn't have an easy way to unsuspend outside of like this one Sirismon card, and it really needs to interact with the board in order to do a lot of damage when you take a look at cards like Arcturusmon, who for the most part is only here for his inheritance effect of whenever you delete an opponent's Digimon. If you have Gammamon in your text, you can just trash one of your opponent's security. So the idea is like get to a Sirismon and then delete something with an Arcturusmon in your sources, and that way you trash the security and then you can attack. And this series, the new Sirismon, having the ability to just like slot something underneath on evolve and on attack, not once per turn by the way, and the fact that he already has Sec +1 means you can check for 3 in a single go. So not bad. And then Proximamon is here, but I feel like he is more of a really niche case use. yeah, typically opponents can remove Digimon off the board, so putting him up is like a really great way to get rid of something like a Hexablaumon. I've mentioned this before, I think, where Hexablaumon might just like stun your whole board because you don't have enough sources or you don't have as much as he does. When you take a look like Light Fang, Nightclaw, Proximamon is always like unstuck your board in this case, where he doesn't need to attack, he just end of a turn, delete a thing. Also, I cannot stress how good the Strongest of Brothers is. I love this card. I didn't think it was that great when I first read it, but now that I've seen it in action, I love this card. Remember I said before, the whole deck just wants to slot cards underneath your sources with Gammamon and then get like more effects. This card takes advantage of that, and it says like whenever that happens, you can trash this card and the delay effect rather. You can trash this card and just evolve for whatever, for free. So, you know, you use this Hero Monokawa Tamer here to slot a Digimon underneath one of your other Digimon on board, and then you trigger the delay effect of this card to just evolve it immediately. You can also get really funny things like free cost Proximamon to normally a 6 cost evolve, or 3 with some stipulations, but typically a more expensive evolve, you get that for 0 now. And oh yeah, the fact that unlike the Hero Monokawa Tamer effect, this one is all turns. So there's some really funky plays you can make with the Regulusmon Ace, where if you have like a Gullus Gammamon out, you can Regulusmon will let you trash something from hand, and then you play a card with Gammamon as text from your trash in his bottom Digivolution card. And then once you do that, you can delete a Digimon who's level 4 or lower, and you can also trigger the Strongest of Brothers, and because it slotted a card underneath its sources, you can evolve it immediately into a Siriusmon. Or I guess if you really wanted to, an Arcturusmon as well. So you get like double deletions off this one ace play, which is kind of crazy. And it is a red deck, and so there are some problems red has where it can't it doesn't want to have to deal with the top Digimon to delete it. So the Zanmetsumon here is a great choice to not only gain effects from all of your Gammamon named cards, but also he can de-Digivolve when evolving, which is really useful in order to get rid of something like a Galacticmon or just like other hard to remove things, but they can be easily de-Digivolved and then removed. So yeah, really cool deck. Also, yeah, I completely forgot. There's 2 other cards here. The Gammamon, the new Gammamon. I haven't used this so much in my own games, but I mean, it has to be useful, right? If you have 2 or fewer security or 3 or more hero trait tamers with different names, although you'll never get that one in this deck, so it's mostly 2 or fewer security, you can evolve into a Siriusmon in your hand for 4, which, again, I don't think will happen too often, but again, if it does happen, you always have that option available to you. Also, I know where this park is. I think this is a real place where he's sitting. I think is an actual park that I've been to, because this is Tokyo Skytree in the background for sure. It's definitely Tokyo Skytree. I think this is the park right by the river. And yeah, that's the new Gammamon. Really, really cool deck. It's one that I've been playing with a lot this past week. I see it for its faults, and I think that if they just get one either rush card or one way to unsuspend any, like for example, if they could unsuspend this Siriusmon here, the deck would be incredible. But yeah, that's pretty much Gammamon in a nutshell. Yeah, I wish the rush I'm not so worried about, but if they had a way to unsuspend just one time, this deck would be a menace. So yeah, that's pretty much this week's meta report. Megidramon is definitely on a tear. People have been like posting up their runs at their locals, even if they don't win. They'll post up a run, and it's just like, so my locals had 4 rounds today. I brought, whatever decks. Sometimes I brought Megidramon. First round Megidramon, second round Megidramon, third round Megidramon, fourth round Megidramon. It's like, I forget what they describe as like. They call it like hell mode, Digimon hell mode. It's just all Megidramon all the time. Everything explodes, everything's dying. It truly is hell. So it'll be interesting to see how that deck fares. The thing is, I feel like if they don't get the Medieval Dukemon up, not even the Medieval Dukemon, I just feel like the deck does have some issue with any defensive play. Like a single Seraphi Ace would just ruin that deck's day. I feel like the Megidramon wins the Megidramon versus Megidramon matchup. You might be correct, but actually no, we all lose in the end. Megidramon wins, but we all lose collectively. It'll be interesting to see how they also continue to optimize that deck, where Royal Knights is definitely the most popular deck being played right now. Sakuyamon might have more not more wins, but more. So keep in mind, these meta reports take all of the events that happened over the past week, and within those are some of the qualifiers for Japan. I think Sakuyamon has more qualifying wins. I need to double check that, so take that with a grain of salt, but I believe that's the case. Royal Knights is more popular, but Sakuyamon has more qualifier wins. So it'll be interesting to see where this deck pops up within the next couple of weeks. And if any, I guess decks right now are just so offensive that it is kind of tough to like mount a defense because you're mostly focused on just like winning immediately rather than like defending it out. I guess this is where control players in the West might have the edge, where you run up against a Megidramon as a control player. I feel like you might have a better time than like, you know, Sakuyamon, who's just trying to like go faster, but the Megidramon can just put on a lot more pressure and infinity majillion gravity crushes. My locals Megidramon player has Lynx just is locking my opponent down. Damn. Lynx plus Megidramon seems kind of nasty. No matter who wins, everyone else dies. Yeah, literally the dark hole of effects. Surprise virus, Imperialdramon fell off. Imiya, actually, I wrote a bit in my script about this when I was considering to actually like record this, because I wanted to like gesture those folks directly. Yeah, to all the Imperialdramon virus players who are like trying to fly under the radar right now, we know that you're just waiting for the new red purple memory boost to come out. Like we get that. And some of your cohorts in Japan have become filthy scabs and broke the picket line of like not trying to put up results. So you guys can like pop out of nowhere once the billion bullets LM6 set drops and you get that new option card. But don't worry, like these 3 wins means that you're now on my radar, so we're all watching your ass. You're on notice. Here's a question. I don't know how to classify Dukemon or Galatmon, because there are 2 versions of Gammamon that have been floating around since like just around the World Finals. The first is regular Galatmon, Galamon X, and the second is Blue Galatmon, where it's like Seadramon lower end, and then you just utilize the blue, like the blue cards to evolve into Galatmon X Antibody, who is also just blue. And it's actually kind of nice because you have a lot more choices for removal. You can, I think, not be blocked with some effects. You have the ability to become active with some of your level 5s. You can bounce Tamers with your level 4, which seems really nice. You can also bounce level 4 Digimon with your level 5s. And I really like the deck, and it has some just disgusting potential. And it's kind of hard to, how do I explain this? So the time I played this deck at the World Championships, like they had like the Gunslinger event there, I thought that I had like navigated the deck enough where they had the Digimon, they had the Dukemon out on board, and it's like, all right, like they don't have a wall to win with, so I can just attack and win the game. I attack, and he evolved into Gammamon, the ace of all Digimon. I was like, you know what? There was no chance of me ever considering that card being a possibility in this deck, so you know what? You got it, yeah. Fish Duke, yeah. I don't know how to like represent it on this here. I don't know if I should like just make it like the same Dukemon with like a blue indicator here, or just something completely different. I don't know. Gammamon in red, baby. Shh, Rango, don't tell him. Don't tell him about the secret tech. Come on, man. It's a new toy syndrome. Oh, shout out to the folks over in the Philippines. Happening at our local scenes. We just got BT21. Is it new toy syndrome? I heard that Hunters actually kind of has hands. And Adventure still seems to be winning quite a bit. It feels like right now Digimon is a game where like the top tippy top best decks are clearly strong. And then as soon as you go one level down, it's like super expansive. There's so much. Like it really feels like you could put these three decks together on one level, and then like all of these in the next level, maybe with the exception of a couple. Sorry, Justimon players. Bandai knew what they did when they hit Mother Shoto. That was uncalled for. But it feels like that second level is so wide right now. They could be like one optimization away from just like popping up here as well. Who knows?